What is up, podheads? Back at it, another Podio Slate podcast. I am Tony. I am here, as always, with Anthony and Nate. We are back in our respective studio man cave places. If you've checked out any of our videos, the cool pub that Nate gets to record from, that's in the background. Yeah, we're back doing our thing over Zoom because Nate's back out west. But hey, boys, how we doing tonight?
You're right, man. Back on the West Coast. I'm missing you guys. It's nice to see you guys in person. You know, we've been doing the whole video thing like we're stuck in the year 2020. But hey, it's the most viable way to do this. So it is nice to be back here. But it was nice hanging out with you guys. And we are in our respective jurisdictions, as they say.
Well, I feel bad, and this is Anthony here. I feel bad because I only saw you once this trip. Then you saw him twice, right, with the Clutch show?
Oh,
yeah.
We saw the show. Yep,
yeah,
true.
we had the Clutch show when the day that you got in, and then which we talked about on an episode a couple episodes back. But yeah, we got to do a couple of hangs, and then we hung out with Rob, obviously, in that episode of the Radio Hits episode from a few weeks back as well. And then we had a couple of conversations. So yeah, we're excited to be back with an OG because we haven't done the OG thing in a little bit.
Are we getting right into it? We don't have any pre-topics, do we?
I know, because who knows when this is going to go out. We're recording this probably early enough that whatever we would say wouldn't hit when this drops. Like the sleep token fart just happened, so who knows when this is going to drop.
So when you listen to this, that happened like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
4 weeks ago.
That's true. Well, there is one thing I wanted to mention, which is prepping for this episode. There's a band member from a band we all really like that he might come on the pod. And the newest record has like an 80s feel to it, which is like super cool. It made me realize like 80s is actually somewhat a, transferable vibe because you can actually put out a record in 2023 and it works.
Talking about the 80s, huh?
I'm laughing because I don't even know who you're talking about.
I do, but we'll leave it alone because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I do. Yeah. I was going to give a hint, but I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah. It could just vanish.
You don't want to jinx it.
So many of these things they like are there. They're on the table. And then it's like, poof. We don't have any recollection of talking to you. We're not sure what's happening. This game is tough, guys. This game is tough.
From what I hear from my single friends, it's like, I guess it's like dating now. Like people just vanish. Like everything's lined up and it just disappears. You get ghosted.
Yeah, it's like you're at the bar late at night. You make plans for the next day, and no one shows up. The next day's here, and you don't hear anything.
That makes sense, but we're not talking to that generation of people. We're talking to our generation of people, right?
Like, that's true.
I guess we probably ghosted when we were of that age, but we didn't even know we were ghosting because it wasn't even technically a thing, I guess. I don't know. Who knows, man?
But what we are talking about tonight is the 80s. And Tone, you brought this up. And I think you pitched it as 80s bangers.
Yep. I did, yeah.
And my initial reaction was, man, that's going to be fucking hard. I can only pick 3. And then I did the exercise, and I'm like, I can only pick 3.
You can go so many different ways. So many different ways.
And that's the thing. No genres off limits. So the premise is, like always, we bring songs to the table. We'll probably tease them. We'll do that whole thing. Just that I think are bangers. They don't have to be our favorite songs, but just, at least in my case, they've stood the test of time, and that probably is a theme for you guys. And they're timeless. I think if they came out today, they'd hit. The production would be different, I'm sure, but they would hit.
That's a good call out, especially the production element. That's like something like when I was doing like the homework for this episode, I'm like, man, the production in the 80s was singular to the 80s. There's a very like distinct vibe. It's like 80s horror movies and 80s music are one of a kind.
That's a good point. And you said it's the production aspect of it does make sense. And you sent us something in our group text not that long ago that was what, Dude Ranch, if it was today, this is a Blink-182 tangent, but had it been produced like a little more, what, Jerry Finn? Was that the way it was couched?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was completely different sounding, but the same, obviously, because we know all those songs. And it was cool. And I wonder, we hear this and we see this all the time with the internet. There's a lot of creative people out there who like will take a song and make it their own, or take a song and say, we're going to do it in the style of this. It'd be cool just to have these songs that I have. I know you guys too, probably, as today's production. Like if somebody just took them today and was like the producer du jour in whatever scene or genre we're talking about and made that song 2023-ish. It'd be kind of fun.
It'd be fun. And I wish they would keep the original ethos of the song and not do like an Alex Melton, the Pure Noise guy that does all those weird covers of like half tempo stuff, but like did the song as it was intended to be with modern production. That'd be
cool.
Songs, massive songs that we know, not massive in how big they got, but just like massive in, fill a room aesthetics or whatever, would be even bigger.
That's a good call.
Well, let's start a label. Let's get some write the songs and let's orchestrate this shit.
That might not be that easy.
Oh, dude, anything's possible, man. GoFundMe. Let's start with the GoFundMe and go from there. But no, good call out, man. As you were talking, we talked about it on here a few times. Always got to mention one of the house bands, Rage Against the Machine, doing that in the sense of they're like, it's a covers record with Renegades, but I feel like that kind of fits that description, like bring in that noise in a different way.
That is a great point, because that's when I first heard of Minor Threat with the In My Eyes cover. And you hear the Rage version, then you hear the OG, and you're like, "Is this a fucking demo? What is this?"
Right. Yeah.
And then you remember the time period, remember the history, and it's like, I get it. I love that.
That one in particular, because they're giving it their all, because everyone in that band's like classically trained, so they're not like trying to be anything except for themselves and give that song justice and be Rage, which is obviously them. So.
Yep. All right, Twan, you had something you were going to start us with to kind of jump into this. But yeah, 80s bangers. Twan, lead us off. Tell us what we're going to do here.
So, like we said, I think we're going to do 3 rounds, one apiece, bring songs, 80s banger songs. But in doing research for this, I mean, obviously, like we were all born in the 80s. We maybe weren't listening to music in the 80s, but we've always appreciated it. We had parents that love it. And in doing research, I'm like, it was a decade of change, but also like an identity when you think about it. So I listed a few things here to run through. We lost John Lennon in 1980. MTV launches in 81. VH1 launches in 84. So you have introduction to music videos as a creative outlet, as a marketing tool, all this stuff. The CD comes out in 82. And by 88, CDs are outselling vinyl. So you can see the progression, a lot of change. Hardcore punk gets legs. West Coast, Dead Kennedys, Black Flag. DC scene, Minor Threat, Bad Brains. Rap music makes U.S. charts. Grandmaster Flash, Sugar Hill Gang, Run DMC, NWA. By the late 80s, it's exploding. Synth pop, new wave emerges. Soft Cell, Human League, Depeche Mode. Mainstream success of hair metal. Motley Crue, Def Leppard. Tens of millions of records, some deserving, some not. Metal in general with the launch of Headbangers Ball. Michael Jackson takes over the planet with Thriller, Prince with Purple Rain. And by the late 80s, grunge, noise rock. In the 80s, believe it or not, fact check this, all you nerds, Nirvana had a release, Soundgarden had a release. Massive decade. And to summarize it, I was talking about this with my wife, like the pillars of music as we know it were still forming. Like those genres are pillars, and now all those genres have been sliced and diced, but like it could be the last decade where true pillars, like now you obviously have pop punk, you have all this stuff, but like punk, metal existed before that, but not a lot, right? Black Sabbath. But yeah, a lot of highlights from that I wanted to share, because that kind of got my juices flowing. It's like, well, where do I even start with these 3?
Man, that's a really cool overview. And just the framework of the 80s is clearly bigger than, most of us can comprehend. In fact, without that kind of layout, I wouldn't have even known there was that much that took place in just that decade, singular. And I started to think about record sales and all those different genres coming to form. That's also, I believe, and I could be wrong, again, spot check me on this one, but is that when the portable music player, like the Walkman, also dropped in the 80s, or was that 90s? I know like there was a
cassette. You're talking cassettes, right? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I can check it out, but yeah.
Because the Discman was later, so that's flipped. Well, I guess skip protection was a technology that launched later.
15-second skip protection. If you know, you know. If you're not, look it up. So yeah, like so with my 3 picks, as always, like they're going to be all over the map. And I think what I just highlighted with this decade is it was a decade all over the map of a lot of change. And again, you have blending of genres, but I think like it was the last decade where there were foundations still being set.
Yeah, into the early 90s. Yeah, I agree. Walkman 1979 from Sony, but like
No way.
right
Wow.
into the 80s obviously, and that's when it kind of had its heyday and continued into the 90s. But the MTV thing is interesting because I don't know if either of you guys have read the book I Want My MTV.
I have not.
No.
Oral history of that, like the launch and all of that, all the stuff that went around that, music video shoots, what they used to play, why they used to play it, how it's, the behind the scenes stuff. Really, really cool book. I don't have it sitting right here. I'd tell you who wrote it, but it's called I Want My MTV. It's the oral history of MTV. I would recommend it to anybody that hasn't checked that out. If you like that era, if you clicked on this, you probably do. So check it out.
Nate, what you're thinking about is the Discman. It was the Sony Discman came out in 84.
Wow.
Yeah, this generation does not appreciate MTV. They think it's ridiculousness. They think MTV's a challenge. They think it's love or I don't know, all those shows.
Right. Yeah.
Growing
Teen
up,
Mom.
Growing up for us, it was pivotal. And you had these left of center shows like Headbangers Ball, like they had one for rap. Like there's all these, the Beavis and Butthead, you could get exposed there. Like we learned a lot and exposed to a lot because this was pre-internet.
Dude, so much, especially like late night or super early morning, all the music videos, and they would have like deep cut music videos. Like, oh, dude, this is like not even a single, and they have a music video for it.
Oh,
but it would be like
it'd
be like a European single or something, like cool shit like that.
Yeah, if there was a single and there was any money spent on the band, there was a video, and those were pitched to MTV, pushed to MTV, and hopefully played depending on where it was coming from. But there are a lot of bad 80s videos out there too, and they're worth your time.
Oh, yeah.
Go check some of that out. There was a show that Rob and I used to watch pretty regularly called, I think it was Totally 80s or 80s music videos. We watched it all the time when I went over to hang out with him, and he'd be like, I watched this one already, but we're watching it again because I want you to see this video. It was just wild, some of the stuff you would see, and like the effects that they thought were cool in 1980 that obviously are 82, 84, that are nothing compared to what we see today in 2023. But man, fun time, lots of cool music. Who's going to lead us off?
Production bad, videos bad, songs kick ass, and I'm starting us off.
Nice.
And I'm pandering to you guys with this first one.
All right.
There's gonna be no tease. U2.
Ooh.
With or without you.
Oh,
damn.
Nice.
Brilliant song, brilliant arrangement, brilliant vocals, simple music. Listen to that instrumental, just instrumental. I could play the bass line right now. Nate could play the drums.
Do it. Prove it.
No one could touch the vocals, but it just proves that like brilliance can come from simple places. And we talk about perfect songs. By all accounts, a perfect song.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you guys have seen them live. I would imagine this song, I'm going to quote you, Tone, a religious experience.
Yes. Especially with just the iconic nature of the band and the iconic nature of this song and that time frame for the band. I mean, they were top of the world late 90s, early 2000s, but they were top of the world then too, right? They've had many iterations of being one of the biggest and most influential rock bands in, the history of the genre, the history of music. So this song is one of the reasons why. And damn, just it takes me back to seeing them. I've seen them twice. Once way up the top of the Fleet Center, which what did they call it now? The Garden in Boston. I could touch the wall behind me, and then once down on the floor, and both times were fucking awesome.
You ready for this? Sleight of hand and twist of fate on a bed of nails. She makes me wait. I mean, come on.
It's so good.
It's all time.
It could have fit the lyric episode easily.
We'll have to run that one back then.
Run it back, dude.
Let's
Bonus episode.
placeholder this. One of us has to pick this song for lyrics part 2.
Hey, well, don't
Don't tempt me, brother.
Dude, this really cool to hear you drop a U2 song. I didn't expect that. Not that I didn't think you were a U2 fan, but
Didn't think I was capable. Okay.
no, not that. It's just
Twan
usually
has
you have
layers. He has depth.
he's always got like the far out,
I'll get there. I'll get there.
things that we don't even know
Yeah,
about
that's coming.
helps me discover new music. But U2, I do know very well, or all three of us.
You've heard of him? Good.
I've heard of him. But yeah, dude, cool band, awesome song, and one of the few bands that's all original members since they were like in their teens, that's a testament right there. So phenomenal song, man.
If you've never heard it, 80 off 87's Joshua Tree, right? Joshua Tree,
iconic.
Yeah.
The Stump the Tone episode. What were the names that Nate had for you two? Oh. What they were gonna be?
Oh,
Flogging Harry, I think was one of
so, how you remember that shit?
Go back and listen to Stump the Tone. It's early 100s, 103 or 105, something like that. Go check that one out because it was fun, and Nate had some fun names for what U2 could have been before they were U2.
So last thing I'll say about this song is, I think what's a true measure of a good song is when a band covers it. And even if they do a shitty job, you still appreciate it. And I think maybe we mentioned this on the podcast, but Finch did a cover of this, like an old demo. It's rough. It's really rough. Go listen to it. It's just on YouTube. But like you really appreciate in this case, like how raw and emotional the song is, which you might not really recognize that for the original version. Have you guys heard that?
I haven't heard that cover. I'm super curious. And now I'm starting to see the comparisons with U2 and that first Finch record now. Just the build up. Just the build up. No.
No, me either, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've ever heard that either. And that surprises me because I was all about finding every little piece of Finch's, whatever they had out there in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like a studio one take. Nate loses his voice. Not our Nate, but Nate.
Yeah, Nate.
Nate Barcelo?
Barcelo, yeah.
Nate
Check
Barcelona.
your DMs, Nate.
All right, who's up? That was like a lead-off.
Triple.
I was going to say, yeah. I was going to say
might even be a lead-off home run. That's lead-off home run.
All right.
That was Brady Anderson circa 1996 right there.
50-50 club.
50 bombs out of the blue. All right.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Allegedly cheated. Allegedly.
Allegedly didn't cheat.
I don't need Brady Anderson coming after us. Oh, boy. All right. I'm going to go. I'm up. I'm taking the reins here. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
You mentioned New Wave, right, Twan? I think you did in the preamble there.
Did, yeah.
This band would be in that kind of realm. Probably one of the more popular bands from that realm. Still touring today, just had a whole kind of kerfuffle with Ticketmaster, one of the many artists that's like, what the hell are you guys doing? We want our fans to see us.
The Cure.
Yep.
All day.
Nice.
I had a tough time picking a Cure song. There are so many good Cure songs. I picked one that had a couple of different variations of it just for the fun of talking about that. It's Close to Me, which is on Head on the Door from 1985. The album version doesn't have the horn section breakdown, but the single version does, and that's the version I'm the most familiar with, the one that I listen to the most. Really kind of cool, poppy, happy Cure song, there's not a lot of those, so it's kind of fun to have. And it showed the range of the band, it showed the range of Robert, and to be able to pull this song off. But it was, in my research, finding that horn version, which I really was the only one that I knew, wasn't what they put out originally, was kind of cool. And I wonder what made them go back and change that and add that stuff in, because to me it makes the song it ends up being kind of a fun, frenetic, fast-paced piece of it. So, you guys familiar with the song?
I not by name. Nope. Do you know a name?
I know this one, and I'm going to see them in a few weeks. I'm not sure.
Just a casual, hey, I'm going to see him.
Oh, nice, nice.
Hey, I mean, they're coming back, right? But yeah, dude, good call out. I wonder if they put it out and they have that the ink's dried, but we actually have second thoughts. We're going to rerun it and add a different layer. So it's either the band or it's someone in their camp is let's do a Deftones Back to School and rerun this kind of thing.
I wonder if it was okay, the song's now a single. Let's add some pizzazz to it to get people to go out and buy the single too, even though they already have the record. I mean, we would have done that all day, right?
A little behind the scenes. I just skimmed the song and it sounds familiar, and I did hear the horns in there. So I don't know again what version that was, but it sounds familiar. Question for you guys, because I don't know, because I was alive in the 80s, but I wasn't listening to The Cure. How big were The Cure? In this era? Because And the reason I ask, and I asked this same question with what's going to be my next pick, like my dad, who's in tune with 80s music, I don't even know if he knew The Cure existed.
I don't want to date your dad here, but because my dad's not that much different in age, and also was probably the same, like wasn't a huge Cure fan. So I think that's probably just because he was a little older when they came
Could be.
around. Like I remember really kind of finding them and liking them a lot when I was like 20. So if your
Early
dad's
2000s, probably.
yeah, when they're kind of popping off and your dad's maybe 28,
30.
30, yeah. He's probably like, nah, not for me, and then maybe appreciated some of it, but didn't hit him the same way like it did for me when I was 19, 20, 21 years old.
I mean, I could see that happening because, I mean, the whole preview you gave, Twan, was like just the huge, expansive net of the 80s. And The Cure, like, is also in that net, but they're a little left to center. I mean, I don't even know what you consider them. You know, a lot of punk bands consider them one of the best of all, greatest of all time, especially Mark Hoppus of Blink-182. I think that was actually another one of those like liner notes. Like he's always thanking them. I'm like, all right, I got to check out The Cure. Who are these? Who's this band? So even for me, I had to find out from another band.
Well, and the South Park guys did too early on. They said Disintegration is the best album ever made on a South Park episode. So
I think you're right, Tone. I think that's exactly what it was, because back then this was the equivalent of college radio, the college indie rock. And that would have likely missed someone who's 30.
that would have been us being like, what the fuck? This stuff's big right now? And then coming back to it 6 months later and be like, all right, I get it. Or 6 years later and be like, I get it.
Yeah, like when we were in college, like the Hold Steady was the college radio darlings. Like someone who's 30, it might miss them.
It missed me then, but then I end up liking the Hold Steady now. So
Right.
you just made my point for me. That's perfect.
Yeah, there you go. Where does this stack up in their canon?
Oh, this is just me, I think, like just loving the song. It's probably top 30-ish Cure song, maybe. I don't know. I'd have
Really?
to look.
Wow.
My favorite Cure song is from the year 2000, so that's me being a weirdo and liking Blood Flowers a ton. Or Blood Flowers, it depends on who you ask. That record's so fucking good, and that maybe someday is my favorite Cure song. But that is, again, the product of me being 19 and whatever, the early 2000s, and being like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, they got a lot of bangers, dude. So that's a tough one.
And our old buddy, our old pal Peanut, they covered Love Song, 311 did, and it was a huge hit for them as well, even though it was a huge hit for the Cure back in the day. So that's another proof that the song is good. It doesn't matter who covers it, but then if a good band takes it and covers it, that can take it to another level or just bring it back into the consciousness, which is what 311 did, I think.
I'd love to know how many additional records were sold, Cure records were sold as a result of that single, because that 311 made it. Did they make it bigger than the OG?
That's
Tough
a
to
good
say,
question.
right?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Maybe not. They definitely had a moment with their version of it. Like it was all over the radio.
Good pick. Deep Cut. I think I know the song, but there's a chance I don't know it. I mean, I skimmed it and it sounded familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. That's why we do this. Maybe you get a little nerd homework there, Twan.
Ah, nice. Twan's always giving us the nerd homework.
Nerd work.
Yeah. All right, Nate, what have you got for us?
I got a lot, dude. I had a bunch and I cut it down. So again, this was one of those cool geek subjects where a lot of stuff floods to the noggin and you got to start cutting it down. But I got some backups for future episodes at least. So in terms of the top three, one that I wrote down, I want to say quintessential 80s song, but it depends on what angle you're looking at the 80s. But production wise, I know we went over that earlier. I wrote a note like, this is like an 80s emo song. It's The Promise When in Rome. I don't know if you guys know this one, but it's gold. It's the beat. There's like this beat that is timeless in itself. It's like, I don't know, 80s video game beat. And then you got this layered vocal, which is just harmonious. And I think it's a banger, man. The song's a banger. It's a little bit, if you know kind of thing, but great song, great production. And one of the songs that just reminds me, like, man, I used to shit on the 80s, but there's songs like this that are just so dope that I'm like, man, I wish I was in the era to live this.
just skimmed it myself. I wasn't familiar with this song, but it's very like Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me type.
Yep.
Like, but you're right. The beat's awesome. It's quintessential sound of the '80s. What was popular? What would have hit the radio? Had a moment in whatever year it came out, and yeah, I could see that. Definitely fits that decade for sure.
Yep, and bangers.
Yes.
I just skimmed it. The only Promise I know is a hardcore band from the early 2000s, and this is not them. Another one that sounds familiar, but it could be just the drums, and that's the thing with the '80s. It all sounds like programmed drums, which
A lot of drum machine.
I mean, was it?
It sounds like it. If it wasn't, it's either the production value turned it that way, or they didn't have a drummer.
But every actually, I'm tangenting. Not even about the '80s into the '90s here. I saw online someone layered like all of the Backstreet Boys' biggest hits. It's the same drum beat, not even like any variation, just the exact same thing. And I feel like that's a lot of what happened in the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
Same beats per minute, same fucking artificial drum loop, like all that stuff.
I'm going to tangent off of the tangent, if that's okay. I was just scrolling through Twitter earlier today, and our old buddy Holiday Kirk of the Crazy Ass Moments in New Metal put up this video of 2019. Somebody put together all of the Slipknot songs over themselves. So it was just really just noise, which was pretty fucking wild.
Could you make out any of the songs?
No, not at all. I skimmed for about 20 seconds. I was like, yeah, that's about what I expected.
Well, it shows there's variation there. They weren't pulling a Backstreet Boys.
Exactly. That's the point there.
Damn. Joey Jordison's drums on The Promise would be pretty epic, actually.
Ooh, good call. And
because he could do that tempo,
Not enough was made of how good he was. I would agree.
So Nate, what made you pick this out of all the songs? Is it what is it about it? Because I mean, I listened to it and I get it, but I want to know your angle.
For me, the '80s, there's so many songs that just capture you in the first like 3 seconds, and this is like one of those songs. Like fits in that bucket of like top 10 '80s songs that like you're in like 3 seconds in, like, all right, dude, I'm not gonna skip this song, and it's like kind of an unknown band. So for them to make the list, it's almost like I wanted to give them proper status, because it's like, yeah, there's all the big ones that I could have dropped, and I scratched them out because it's like in my own head, like, this is an obvious pick, so I'm gonna go with The Promise.
Was that the build up, and then there's that I was just listening to it, and you're like, all right, where is this going?
But the layered vocals is really where it's at once you get in there a little bit longer. Yeah,
I'm trying to sound like Morrissey. Yep, like everybody was trying to do around that time.
Is that the best segue of all time?
You have the song that I was going to pick. Yes, go ahead, do it.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it
is. I'm going with the Smiths. There's a light that will never go out.
Ooh, I wasn't thinking that song. All right.
What were you thinking? What song?
Oh, I had it. Hang on.
How Soon Is Now, or This Charming Man?
How Soon Is Now.
How Soon Is Now.
That's the one that I listened to today and was like, ooh, this what hits you. It hits you like it's, it came out today or it came out 40 years ago.
Just the dramatic Johnny Marr intro and all that.
Yep.
I went with this one, and it's the kind of yin to the Cure yang, which that's a plug for the turducken arguments at the Nerd Bar episode. Listen to that if you want to hear that argument.
Yeah.
But again, it's always fun to think about any song or band. It's easy to do it through today's lens, but through the time that it existed. And you could say the same thing about the Cure. Like, The Queen is Dead, the album this came out on, 86. Like, what were they pulling from? But this song's classic. The first time I heard this, I would say maybe mid 2000s. But what made me appreciate it, and this is, a new Jack approach to this song, was 500 Days of Summer, that movie with Zooey Deschanel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There's the scene in the elevator where she's listening to this. To die by your side, and they start talking.
Saving that, clipping that.
There you go for the singing episode.
Yep.
But it just, I remember I was like, oh yeah, I remember that song exists. And I don't know. I think this is the biggest Smith song, and it's top 3. And I think we just named the top, How Soon Is Now and This Charming Man are probably my 3 favorite tracks, but it's always cool to see like this song had that resurgence in 2009 with this movie, which was 23 years later. It's just amazing. And that's the power of a good song. It can land in any era. And that, I think it fits with Without You. It fits with every song we've mentioned tonight so far.
Yeah. And a lot of people jacked Morrissey and the Smiths style, did they not? And I mean, Twan, you and I probably favorite bands before all the crap hit the fan with them. Brand New had a lot of Smiths influence and Morrissey influence, and come to find out both Morrissey and Jesse Lacey are not the greatest people. So
I know. I was wondering if I should hold back on this one, but I don't know. This is probably an all-timer for me, song wise.
Yeah, great song, dude. And also one of those songs that just like starts right away. There's no like long kind of exaggerated intro. It just jumps right in it, which I always thought was cool. Any song that does that, I always appreciate. It's like, yeah, let's cut to the chase here. Let's just jump in. It's number one on, at least on their Spotify. It's their number one most played song. Fucking sick, dude.
Factoid, in 2001, Rolling Stone Mag did a 500 greatest songs of all time. Where do you think they put this one? I mean, to be on the list anywhere is a feat.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2021.
Oh, so fairly recently. Yeah. Top 50?
226.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought maybe it would be bigger with your lead up, but
right, I know.
Well, no, that's why I kind of backpedaled. I said to be on the list anywhere, is a feat, and I would probably agree. I mean, it's higher than 226 on my list, but I'm not going to pull a Rob and actually put the list together.
Yes, and actually, in the near future, I will be linking to whatever Spotify. He wants to be a Spotify curator, so follow our boy Rob.
But yeah, like this is what I was saying when you were talking about the Cure. There's for most people, like I feel like the Smiths are bigger now than maybe ever, right? And they've had the luxury of time here, but that's kind of point I was making. Like our parents, they weren't listening to the Smiths in the 80s. You know what I mean? I would imagine it was still underground, and I could be wrong with that.
Yeah, hard to say, but I do want to highlight what you said about the whole movie soundtrack. Like, not only the soundtrack, but in the scene, like she's listening to the song as part of like the scene. Like, so it was like literally like written into the script, which you got to. I mean, that's nerdery all day, because that means the director, the screenwriter was like such a geek that they're like, you know what, I have a song that I personally like that I think will fit the scene to a T. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's like the Madball poster in Friends. Like there was someone on the set. That, you know, all that shit.
Well, it's a song that I almost picked for tonight, Panama, by Van Halen.
Yep.
The scene in Superbad where they're shooting the car up and doing figure eights and fucking peeling out and shit in the parking lot with McLovin, the cops. Just because of that, I wanted to pick that part, and maybe even splice in part of the movie, which I may still do.
Can we shoot at it?
I don't know. Can you?
Break yourself, fool! Tight.
I think isn't there like a zebra head poster on the wall in that movie too?
There might be. It's people. It's always that if you know, you know, because and real nerds like us see that shit.
Well, it's like Simple Minds Don't You Forget About Me and Breakfast Club. It's etched into your skull,
right? And then again in American Pie with that really bad band at their prom.
Wow, that's a deep
it's American
cut.
Pie, yeah.
How about The Offspring and Idle Hands?
Dude, that came up not that long ago on Twitter, and I was like, I fucking remember this. I remember this.
I didn't remember it. I was like, really?
I saw that movie, yeah.
Seth Green, right?
Devin Sawa.
All right, who's up? Who's next?
It's me. I've got two here. One is it's a monster of an album. It's a song that wasn't a single, but was massive. It played a ton for 20 some odd years. And let's go with that one. 1987, biggest debut in U.S. history is the record.
Guns N' Roses.
Appetite for Destruction. Yep. 18 million sold, I think was the number.
Jesus.
Which is insanity. And I mean, obviously that record was full of hits. I mean, Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, like the list goes on. It's a certified, bona fide, amazing record, front to back.
80s banger, perhaps.
Certified and nerdified 80s banger.
Exactly, yes. I picked Rocket Queen. You guys familiar with Rocket Queen?
Not by name, another one.
Nate, you gotta be.
I'm like looking it up like right now.
Towards the end of the record, I won't sing it because I'm not going to try to do Axel right now, but they were living with this group. I actually, in my research today, found this article about this song that came out maybe 10 days ago, which is Nerdvoyance. And it explained that they were living with these three women who were kind of footing the bill for all of their like stuff so that they could try to put this record out, which ended up being fucking massive. And one of the women, I'm going to look her name up right now because I should have it. Barbie Von Grief. She was the Rocket Queen. She helped write the song. I think it's the song that she has a credit on. One of the only ones on the record, even though she helped with other ones, according to this article. Cool article. Sad what happened. The tables turned. Obviously, Guns N' Roses got fucking massive, and these people were kind of left in the dust a little bit, which is unfortunate. But the sex sounds on it are real.
I was going to say there's a lot of lore about the background noise. Yeah.
One of the women that they were living with, I think, and that's just thinking about that to the 2023 lens. I'm like, how did that even happen? Like, there's just no way nowadays that would be okay. So
get the mic closer.
Yeah, right. Like, let's record us and then put it on our record, our debut record at that. Like, not even we're going on
major label. Yeah.
But this song it's a badass song. It's a cool kind of build, and then a complete change up the last like minute and a half. And GNR just, that record is massive. And you guys, anybody out there that doesn't know Appetite for Destruction, I'm sorry.
Well, we talk about it on the Band Vantage album name episode, where everything about them in that era was a cheat code. Even that like lore, like that, this, because back when this came out, I'm sure there was a storyline about the background noises, but there wasn't the internet to speculate or confirm it. You know what I mean? It was this
exactly
band, Guns N' Roses, Rocket Queen. Like, it's fucking cool. You know what I mean? Nate, are you still listening to the song?
I was listening, and I remember now. It's been a while since I've listened to this record front to back, so this is a deep cut. But and just a little sidebar, there is a record that dropped in our kind of era. It was Pause for Porno off Dr. Dre, 2001, that had the sex sounds. But again, that was porno. I guess there's a difference.
Was it real? I mean, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
This is one that the lore is that it's real, and there's plenty of rap records with fake sex sounds on them. Who knows if they're real or
True.
not?
The dog
It might have been
on
real.
dog food.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, Guns N' Roses, what a phenomenon. A great pick. But god damn, like Guns N' Roses is a perfect storm. And it's not even an industry plant. Like the behind the music on Guns N' Roses is phenomenal. And all the antidotes we just kind of dropped on this band and this song in particular are accurate. It just shows that, like, hey, go for it and see what happens. But this is a kind of a lightning strike moment with this record and this band. And hoping to see these guys in the desert for the upcoming Power Trip Festival in Indio, California, with a bunch of bands. So maybe they'll play this one.
That tangent. That fucking. It's like Tool, Metallica. There's so many bands on that, right?
Tool, Metallica, AC/DC.
They should have named it Power Trip, but that's just
a terrible name. I know. Yeah.
Good pick. It's crazy that it actually came out in the 80s, because like they were still popping and getting bigger when in the 90s when we were turned on to them.
Yeah, but they like were kind of this dichotomy against grunge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were hair metal, but they weren't hair metal because they were like, I feel like a little more elevated than that, but that's just me knowing what I know about them and liking them. But like they fit more in that late 80s hair metal box than they do whatever came after them, which effectively ended them as a popular entity, at least in that time frame. They're still obviously well revered, and everybody goes back to Appetite, and everybody knows November Rain and Use Your Illusion and all that stuff. But this was like Nate said, a perfect storm. 1987, that genre had kind of blown up and become the mainstream, and they were like, here it is with some more edge. Deal with it.
Yeah, and there was some crossover there too, because Duff McKagan is from the bassist from Guns N' Roses, is from Seattle, and he's tight with all the Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden guys. So I think there was some crossover there. And when you look at like old music festival bills or even just tours, like Guns N' Roses toured with like a lot of the bands that were just big at the time. I think there was like a Guns N' Roses like Soundgarden tour at one point, definitely, and even like Pantera. So like there's a lot of like, you know, it's not quite the grunge scene because the grunge scene just happened by mistake. So these bands crossed over, and Guns N' Roses, I mean, you got to think Slash is one of the best guitarists of all time. So you can't knock him.
Definitely. Yep.
Nate, what you got?
Okay, I'm going to jump into another one, unrelated completely to Guns N' Roses, but I
That's
think
fun.
But for this is a personal favorite for me. This band, I want to say it's in my top 5 favorite 80s bands of all time. I remember borrowing this CD in particular, from our friend's father, who had like this huge CD collection. And I picked it out and I just liked the cover.
Did you steal one of Twan's dad's CDs?
No.
It's the Police.
It's not the Police.
Okay.
But I borrowed the CD from my friend's father. And when borrowing back in the day was like a long-term rental. Like there was no like due date.
Speak for yourself, dude.
I had it for 5 months. Yeah, it was a while. Our buddy Andrew is his father.
Yeah. Yep.
Rest in peace, his father. The album is Foreigner, and the record is Compilation, which dropped in 1982. Just a fucking banger album. Like every song on this record is just gold. But the song that I chose from this is the one that I always like for a long time I just skipped to because I remember just being in love with the song, was Jukebox Hero.
Yep. I knew
Yeah.
Nate, I looked at Foreigner today and said, I'm not going to do Foreigner because Nate's going to do Foreigner. Like I could just feel it.
Nice.
So I left it out. But Jukebox Hero would be the one that I also would jump to. Although I Want to Know What Love Is also good. But
And this was Lou Gramm era.
Yep.
Produced by Mutt Lange, Shania Twain.
big name, yep.
I was going to say of Shania Twain fame, but it could have been the
Of Shania Twain fame. Of Mutt Lange fame at the time. I mean.
Exactly. There you go. I've seen them at the State Theater, and they played this. But it was, post Lou Gramm era?
Not that long ago, right? Maybe 10 years?
In the last 8 years, yeah.
Because didn't they have the main youth orchestra with them?
Ooh. That might have been a different time. Like, they've been good to Maine.
Yeah, there was a time where they played the state where they had the main like youth orchestra, which is like this classical music kind of group. But they did I Want to Know What Love Is, I think, with them, which was kind of cool.
And so that was the Kelly Hansen era of the band.
Nice.
Why this song, Nate? What about this song gets you going?
Oh man, first time I heard it, I fell in love with it because it was like, we kind of alluded to it earlier, but like the 80s for us were a little bit, it's a kind of an out of body experience because we're like, yeah, we were born in the 80s, but that's not quite when we got into music. So we're kind of like revisiting old VHS tapes. Like, oh, what is this? Oh, Back to the Future, fucking epic. Foreigner, this is fucking epic. I almost wish that I was there to, leave high school and go see Foreigner play the Lewiston Coliseum in Maine and play this song live because this is like this is like written for a fucking concert. It's a concert song,
Mhm.
It's an anthem. Yep.
Yeah. Every time I hear like the build up of Jukebox Hero, I can see like them coming out on like a rotating stage, like boom, 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 and it just jumps into it like a Kiss song or something like that.
You had one guitar. Yep.
Boom. Yeah, exactly. Power chord. And just again, quintessential to the 80s, like not overproduced, but like corny now, but in the moment, like it fit to a T. Like it made sense. Storytelling gold. That was like one of my notes because it tells a really cool story of like someone that just wants to get into music. And then obviously not timeless in terms of title because Jukebox Hero is very much a retro format, but still slays. So I guess now it'd be like a DSP hero.
No. Ox chord hero.
No, that's 2010, Twan.
That's Bluetooth hero.
Exactly. Yeah. Who's got the Wi-Fi, bro?
Mini disc hero.
Oh, mini.
That's early
disc.
2000s,
That's,
guy.
Yeah, that's 2000. Yeah.
So this was 81.
Shows the soul and the Soros. That's an inside joke for Twan and I only. I'm sorry.
I'll have to get that one off air.
Derailed.
Skirting back here.
But yeah. Great song.
81. 81, man. It's funny, like the nature of this song, I would have expected like late 80s, but then like you have Joan Jett, who almost had like the similar version of this song, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was, I don't even know when that was, but
I Love Rock and Roll. I don't know what year that was, actually.
Probably in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think it was 80s.
And I mean, she's badass too. So the Jukebox Hero portion, like, I wonder if this was written in the 70s, because I mean, it came out in 81, right? So, or 82, whatever. It's what it could have been, this kind of like jotted down in a notebook, and we'll put this out when we have the right, backing for it. And then they found it. Obviously, that song is fucking badass.
Dude, good call. That makes sense, actually, because it sounds like like a late 70s Journey song morphed into an 80s song. But anyways, anyone that likes Foreigner obviously knows this record compilation, but it's just a front to back record with bangers. Every song on this record's a banger.
Well, it was off the album 4. So, like, is that the most overused album title?
It might be.
Is that a Bandicap album title?
STP had a 4. Who else?
Led Zeppelin 4.
Blues Traveler. Didn't Blues Traveler have a 4?
I think so. Yeah.
Who else? Yeah, Zeppelin, obviously. Yeah, too many 4s.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was compilation, but that was like a greatest hits album. So that's why every song on there is a banger. But that's how I discovered. I did give that CD back over time, but it took me like 6 months, and I listened to it a lot. I like memorized all the lyrics.
If the well runs dry, we can do an episode of ranking the album 4s.
Shit, that sounds like July, bro.
That's good, Nate. You turned a corner and gave it back.
Yeah, that was nice of you. All right, Twan, what do you got, man?
I don't know if we'll do a lightning round for this last one, but I'll make this one quick. Black Flag, Rise Above. Opening track, 1981's Damaged. Best song on the album, best song they ever did. Hits you from the jump. Go listen to the song, look at the lyrics if you don't know it. But I'll just give you a little taste here. Jealous cowards try to control. Rise above. We're going to rise above. They distort what we say. Try and stop what we do when they can't do it themselves. All time. And this was
perfect.
This was the debut for them. Rollins. I don't know if it was his recorded debut, but it was the debut full length. And I got into Black Flag in a roundabout way. So in 2003, are you guys familiar with the West Memphis 3?
Yes.
Yep. West Memphis, Arkansas, the 3 teens, supposedly wrongfully accused and, found guilty for some horrific stuff. But I got into this through the compilation that Rollins put together as a benefit. It was the Rise Above benefit. So it's all Black Flag songs, but with other musicians on vocals or contributing. And the version I heard first was with Chuck D. It's the opening track off that comp, and I was like, all right, I've heard this, but this made me fall in love with it.
Dude, I love that
81
shit.
81 though, fucking 81.
Amazing. Another one of those songs, like, it kind of just jumps right in. Obviously, there's like the drum like cymbal thing going on like at the beginning, but fits the vibe in terms of like, oh, this is a club band, or at least at the time.
Yeah,
fucking banger, dude. And I like that you called out like how you discovered it, because we're not late bloomers because we don't care. We're late bloomers because of how old we are. So that makes sense. Yeah. So you found it that
early
way.
bloomers. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Depending on.
We find stuff the way we find stuff. And that's the best part about doing this. Like, I found stuff from this podcast, talking to you guys. Yeah. I found stuff from talking to band members that maybe I wasn't aware of when we had the interview. Like, it's the best part about doing this is finding stuff that maybe you didn't know about. Or I hope somebody today is listening to this and goes and listens to that and then goes on a Black Flag deep dive. Like, that's the intent here. Go listen to music.
It's fucking amazing. The Chuck D version's great, and there's actually some, like, the Lemmy does Thirsty and Miserable, which is really fucking good. Corey Taylor's on it. I think Neil Fallon's on that too. One of my favorite comps.
It's a cool comp.
Ryan Adams is on it. It's awesome.
Nice. I don't have that comp, but I remember the whole West Memphis 3 support mechanism with the artist, because Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam was a big advocate for setting those guys, I guess, free, but just, advocating for their rights. It's almost like a pre-Making the Murderer type scenario.
Very much identical. And the name escaped me, but how I found out about the comp was Rollins' book, Broken Summers, which is one of my favorite books. If you read that book, you'll get into the comp. Then you'll go back and read Devil's Knot, which is a book about the whole scenario. It's really fucking good.
Well, and Rollins in general, like, follow him, like, listen to him. The guy, you don't have to agree with him. It'll stir some stuff up and make you think, and that's the reason behind it. I think for me, I mean, just thinking back to seeing him last fall, Twan, like the dude, it still has a message and still has a way about him that nobody else has ever really had.
Yeah, he just has everyone captivated just because you want to understand, like, all right, where is this going to land? What's his angle? And still got it, man.
Still got it. Absolutely. 2 hours and 45 minutes straight. Just didn't
dude.
Stop. Yeah. 62 or 3, right?
I wanted to go to that show.
And half of it was about a stalker.
Yeah. Yeah. And like leveling with the guy in the car. just craziness. Yeah. Really cool show.
Fuck. I don't want to allude that I'm the stalker, but that's the only time I got to fucking interact with Rollins was pre-show because I couldn't make the show because, newborn, the whole newborn thing, but got a poster signed and me and him chatted for like...
It was on our Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the Instagram, but the poster I got is like a show that they played in like the 80s actually. And he just reminisced for like a solid like 6 minutes, like rapid fire, like talking a million miles an hour about that specific gig. I'm like, God damn, this guy would be so cool to talk to long form.
He would be, yeah. And he doesn't do it a lot.
Read his books, man. If you haven't read his books, I have like 14 of them, and they're all awesome. And it's just him. A lot of it's a lot of like journal entry stuff, but we'll do a whole Rollins episode someday.
Yeah, we haven't done that. We need to do that.
He's a vinyl geek, right?
Big time. Yeah, yep. He brings that up in the show too.
That's nice.
All right, we'll park Rollins.
Yeah, we're gonna park Rollins.
Yeah, it's becoming a Rollins tribute episode.
Whew. Shit. All right, last one. One of the most iconic music duos, pop rock music duos of all time. Yep. Nice. What song? I mean, there's so many songs you could pick, right? Like, it doesn't even really. I probably couldn't even give you guys the record or any of that stuff, and you'd figure it out. But I'm gonna give you it right now. Out of Touch. Out of Touch is so fucking good. 1984, off Big Bam Boom, 14th consecutive top 40 hit from 1980 to 1984. That's fucking wild.
That's
and
insane.
They kept going. It's from their like 12th album. That's insane. 1984 is their 1984, their 12th album, and they were already fucking hugely established. And to put out a song like this and all the rest of that record, but they're so fucking good. Like, they know how to write a pop rock song. Like, it's everything's a banger. And this, when you think of 80s bangers, you have to come up with a Hall & Oates song. You can do that in the 70s too, but shit, this is one of the more iconic ones, I think, for me.
So I thought you were gonna go "You Make My Dreams Come True," piggybacking on 500 Days of Summer. Have you seen the movie?
I have. It's been a long time though.
Because there's that dance scene with in the street and the road, and it's like probably the biggest song. Like the Smith song made a splash, but like this was like a moment in a movie.
Well, and using them, that makes sense. I mean, they wrote catchy, happy pop songs and some downers too, but a lot of like the woo 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 that type of stuff. They just
wait, how's it go?
That's from that's You Making My Dreams Come True. I'm not doing it again.
No, I know, but how
no, I'm not doing it again.
We're gonna snip that.
This has it too. I'm the editor, so fuck both of you. But this is what they do. Like, they put out fucking banger after banger song, and to have 14 consecutive in 4 years, 14 consecutive top 40 songs, and this being, and I think that this went on, but this was where they were at that point. Holy shit.
That is insane fucking run. And this song, dude, I wanted to choose this song, but I think I used it in like a text or something. Like, I can't choose this song, but I'm happy you did because it deserves this episode. It's like a fucking, I think it's my favorite Hall & Oates song for sure. And
you did use this in the chat recently.
Yeah.
Group text. I was like, yeah, we were talking about someone that's, out of touch. Yeah.
You said it on an episode with Rob and called it Out of Time too. And we were like, what are you fucking talking about?
Out of touch and out of time.
Nate's out of time.
Oh man, so good. Music video. We were talking about like music video production earlier, and like the low budget. I guess even at the time it wasn't low budget. They obviously had the money. That was just the technology and the resources at the time. It's like it reminded me of like the Pearl Jam 10 photo shoot, just like foam cutout letters. Like, dude, this is the best we can do.
Well, and we got the inside scoop on that Pearl Jam. Not to tangent too much, but we got the inside scoop on that Pearl Jam photo shoot when we talked to Lance way back. So
Lance Mercer.
Lance Mercer is in the archives if you guys want to go back and hear about that. I'm gonna promote us. I don't fucking care.
Oh, every time we can, every chance we get. So we were talking about the 80s drums, and this song is like boom boom ta ta boom boom ta, and then like the synth sound comes in. It's textbook 80s, and it was a blueprint that worked, like clearly. But this is a song. How would modern production treat it? I almost think like the essence of this song, it should be kept in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the mustache. Yeah. Keep the mustaches with the
well, and he's cut Oates has cut it off, has he not? I mean, Rob and I saw him in 2015, and I think he had shaved it off. So the mustache fit the 80s for sure.
Dude.
And even like I'm looking at the cover of the single for Out of Touch, and it's bright colors. It's them like with their arms out, like here we are. Like it's just it's the time.
It's 80s pop rock, baby.
And it's timeless. It's classic. The reality is it probably couldn't have been written in any other decade.
I could agree with that, I think.
It couldn't have been executed in any other decade. I think this song could have been written other places, right. But it wouldn't have gone like this. That's said better.
Like it would have been this song. I'm sure it would be great stripped down by Sam Smith, but like the essence of it, the execution has a home in the 80s. And
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
The whole, I don't know what to call it, dance rock, new wave, synth pop, whatever it is, they're probably the kings.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I think in reading my research for this, I think I read that it was this song that Daryl had was messing around with the synthesizer, that he either didn't know what he was doing with it or it was broken, and got that beginning piece, which is kind of cool. It's just another one of those random nerd facts you find. But don't fact check me on that. I might be wrong, but because I looked at a lot of Hall & Oates songs today too. But I think that was the one.
Damn, dude. Well, first of all, I got to call it one thing. The fact that you've seen them live, they've been on my bucket list for at least 15 years, so you got me there. Secondly...
we were 8 rows off the stage, too, at Hampton Beach.
Oh, it's a Hampton show, too? Shit.
Wow. Nate, you know why you haven't seen them? You're out of touch.
I'm out of touch. I thought you were going to say it was hard to pull the date night card, you know? Secondly, because I like that you keep bringing it up, Tuan, could this be done today, or how would it be done today? There is one artist that could nail this fucking song, and it'd be The Weeknd. Would slay this.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Ooh. I fact checked myself. It was Oates that was playing around with the synthesizer, but it was this song.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna bring us home on the last one. This is a song I usually use in parody, kind of like parody for fun and life and geeking out and nerding out and whatever. But it actually is one of my favorite 80s songs, just because of the subject matter and just it's one of those songs that's about the song, which always makes it quasi awkward, almost
so meta, bro.
Yeah, it's meta. Is this allowed? You know, and there's an autobiography and they change names and stuff because it's too much reality, and then you gotta kind of have a differentiator. The song is Twisted Sister, I Wanna Rock.
Nice.
Because it's corny now. Obviously, when it came out, they meant it. But it fucking captures it, man. Dropped in October of 1984. It's another one of those jukebox hero songs. This was made to be played live.
Totally.
And another note I wrote: if we were to ever do a Podio Slave movie, like a Wayne's World, this would be in that movie, just out of pure parody. Again, it would follow the parody thing, which I don't want to say I don't want to make fun of the band or the song, but it is kind of a corny song. Let's just be honest here.
Through today's lens, almost 40 years later, yeah. But in the moment, especially live, you're writing that to you're gonna yell, "I want to rock," and then everybody in the crowd's gonna yell, "Rock!" and you're like, "This is fucking gold. I have to do this." So It makes sense.
Well, you got to remember, as I always say, context is king. How
Yeah.
big was this style of music back then? It was meant for the
Massive.
big room.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to write this if you're an acoustic singer-songwriter at the coffee shop. It's you know the audience, you know what moves units,
Yeah,
and this is what you got.
that's good assessment. But I still can't help but laugh, even though I fucking love the song. But even when he says, "I want to rock," and then the guitar, do it again.
How'd it go?
What do you do? Yeah.
You cut out.
Hold on, let me do a little falsetto. I
Oh,
want to rock.
wow. Whoa.
And the guitar drops as soon as he finishes rock. So it's not like he's playing the guitar. And this again, fact check us. But like it sounds like he says, "I want to rock," and then it goes din 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 din. So it's almost like he's waiting to jump in, which makes it even more quasi corny for me.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're looking at it through a 40-year lens versus in the moment. In the moment, it was probably, and that's actually kind of a broader point of this whole episode. We were around for it, like we said, but we didn't necessarily get to live it and experience like the rollout and like, oh wow, a Twisted Sister song, this is cool. Like I can't wait to see this live, and this is made for like blowing out the speakers in your Trans Am. Like it's just not the way it is today. So it's a different world back then, and getting these songs where we would have gotten them, whether it's, you know, the Queen is Dead in a smaller club or this arena rock song, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and to be honest, just to be completely transparent, I have nothing against songs that were clearly written to be played live. For instance, you know, completely different, but like Slipknot, Pulse of the Maggots, obviously written to be played live because there's a live fucking, you know, snippet in there. So I get it and I appreciate it.
We make a sick tight connection when we see our true people on tour.
Exactly. And 311 plays that song live because they should, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm glad you kind of brought that home tone, because it kind of is the theme throughout all of this, which is, I think 80s was like finding its own identity, where it was the genre bending was really starting. Like metal bands were making pop, right? You know, these new wave bands were making pop. You know what I mean? That was to me, that's where it all comes home. And a lot of these are examples of that.
Thank you for knowing that I was starting to wrap us. That was my goal there, was to
Nate
bring it
didn't
all
pick
home.
that up.
Bring it all home, baby.
Nate didn't pick that up.
Yeah, I don't rap. I just want to, you know,
Oh, Jesus. I'm going to have to cut that out.
No, leave it.
All right, I'll leave it. D. Snyder, open invitation.
The Pride of Long Island.
Another Long Island band. Damn, shit. It always goes back to Long Island. We're not even talking about the island in the Gulf of Maine either.
Oh, later based in Long Island. So originally from Jersey. So
okay, Jersey. Yeah, Jersey. Well,
all right, we can chat with them.
We'd love to chat with them. We'll chat with anybody, right? I mean, that's kind of the theme of the last handful of weeks. If you listen to the podcast, we're kind of all over the map. Friends, talking 80s, talking fucking hardcore, talking whatever. Like, we'll do it.
We're in, and you're in. If you're listening to this, you're also in.
Yep. And we actually took a poll recently, like, who do you want to see or hear us interview? And we kind of did a little poll. We put out some fishing lines, and we got a lot of responses. So we're gonna take people up on that and go for it.
Gonna try anyway. I mean, there were some big names on there that don't do a ton, so we're hoping we can get them. But yeah, hey, if this is your first time listening to us, thank you. If this is your 160 whatever, 70 whatever time listening to us, thank you. Like, we appreciate anybody who has clicked on an episode of ours and wants to interact with the Patio Slave boys.
We're in. You're in. See you next week.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Patio Slave. We are at Patio Slave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Patio Slave Podcast. YouTube, Patio Slave Podcast there. Email us at patioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.
Take me out tonight, where there's music and there's people and the young and alive. You can
Wow.
cut that, you can keep it. Your choice.
Twice.
You know what
No.
I might do with that? I might put that at the end.
There you go.